Hi, Dank Toys back. This is gonna be a bit of a weirder episode. I'm not. This one's obviously in a different format and everything, but I also really feel the need to say something. Um, so as of this recording right now, just last night, Kentaro Miura, the author behind Berserk, passed away. And I don't usually like to make videos. I usually don't like to try and capitalize when somebody passes away, because it feels disingenuous. Um, I feel like a lot of times people speak up, people say something because they would like to be associated with that attention. They would like to almost ride those coattails of that extremely talented person that the world has just lost. Um, that's not my goal at all with this video, but I feel like I have to do something. I feel like I have to say something because even though I didn't know Kentaro Miura, even though I had never met the man, I feel like I knew him. And that's weird, and that feels conceited to come out of my mouth, but I honest to God feel like I knew the guy, uh, just from reading his life's work. Um, I had other videos planned to do in this. I'm doing this new format. I'm giving it a shot, but it just felt like if I don't make something today, I'm worried I'm never gonna make anything again. Um, and this is the closest art form that I have to honor a just truly talented gentleman that we have lost. So I'm gonna use this time to just kind of talk about Berserk. Um, it's not gonna be like a typical video. I'm not gonna be cracking a lot of jokes because this is a somber topic for me. This is something that means a lot, and I need to vent for a little while, I guess. And I thank you for coming along with me to vent. Berserk is an odd story. It's not. Well, it's certainly not for the faint of heart, but even more so, it's just. It paints this extremely grim, dark view of reality, um, that I was latched to when I discovered it sophomore year of college, something like that. Um, yeah, so when I found Berserk, again, I was in college. Um, I wasn't really getting along with high school friends at the time. Even college friends, even that those relationships were a little bit rocky. They got better, but it was a really weird time for me, and I was, as one does, I was discovering myself. I was figuring out my own personal. I was figuring out who I wanted to be. I hadn't nailed that down for a whole 19 years of my life. I had not figured out who exactly I wanted to be. And then I found Berserk. And I'm not saying that I contribute 100% of who I am today to Berserk, but I contribute a lot to it. So, my history with Berserk, I think I had come home to watch the dog for a weekend or something, and it was just me, and it was all by myself. And I had heard of Berserk before. Things started in '89. I was clearly alive by then for it to make an impact, but it still wasn't huge. The things I had heard about Berserk were just like, oh, people are stuck on the boat. That's the only thing I knew about Berserk at the time. And I was bored, and I was home for a weekend, and I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna download the series. I'm gonna watch it all. Let's just see what it's about. I got nothing else to do. Being the naughty little lawbreaker that I am, I pirated it. I got on the Pirate Bay. I downloaded all of it. Whatever. And I sat at my computer for the next day, and I binged it. Binged all of it. And it's a weird start, the 97 anime series. It's a weird start, and it starts the same as the manga in this in media res style. Here's Guts. Here's who Guts is right now, but you don't know how he got to be who he is right now. And it was interesting, and it threw me for a loop because the next episode starts up, it's not even remotely the same. It's completely different. And eventually I'm like, okay, well, surely we're going to come back to this. Surely we're going to come back to this current Guts. We're going to see exactly what made him this way, and then we're going to continue the story from there. Well, I watched all 26 episodes. And if you don't know anything about Berserk, if you don't know anything about the 97 anime, I'm not going to spoil things, but the 97 anime was not made to get you invested in the story of Berserk. It kind of was, but it also kind of was not. Because for most shows, when they say, we're going to get you invested in this story, they intend to continue on through it. The 97 anime's only goal is to get you to read the manga. And it worked, because it cuts off at this horrific cliffhanger and gives you no answers as to what happens next. It gives you no clues. It gives you no hints. And it basically says, you want to find out what happens next? Go back and read the manga, asshole. So, it worked. It worked flawlessly for me. I was dumbstruck in my desk chair. I was staring at my computer screen as the credits ran. And I was like, dear Lord, what happens next? I gotta figure it out. And I did. I immediately went online and I looked up the manga and I started reading, and it was just so much better than the show. So much incredibly better than the show. And for that reason, I thank the anime, one, for not continuing, and two, for its only purpose being to drag me into the manga. Because, dear Lord, I found just one of the best pieces of fiction of my time. It helped teach me about loss. It helped teach me about suffering. It helped teach me about friendships breaking down and struggling day in and day out. And it really just did a lot for me. And I can't thank Berserk enough for giving me that kind of life advice through fiction, if that makes sense. It was something that I felt like I could relate to. And that seems like such like a first worlder problem type thing, because Guts suffers a lot in this manga, in this story, through these events. It is just unreal how much pain and torture he goes through over the course of Berserk. But even in saying that, for starters, everything's relative. But secondly, it was something that I could latch on to. It was something that a little overdramatic post-emo boy could really lean into. And I leaned into it, as you can see by the makeshift display behind me. I picked up all of the manga. I started buying action figures. I even bought the PS2 game. It really sucked me in. And I've been saying it for years, and now I'm going to continue to say it for years. It is the best piece of fiction I think I've ever experienced. And now the author has died. And spoilers, Berserk hasn't been finished. There's no closure. There's no final battle. We weren't even gearing up for the final battle. It's just done. I don't know if Young Animal is going to try and hand it over to his studio to see if they can finish it for him. I don't know if they're just going to leave it be. I don't know if when they publish the final volume, they'll include a basic outline of what he had planned to do in the end. I have no idea. And I think that's almost poetic for Berserk, because it leaves you with this sense of uncertainty in the end, now. because you don't know what's going to happen. But that was always the case. There were just so few hints, so few clues as to how he was going to end it, that now that he's not going to end it, it almost seems like it fits. And I'm trying not to sound like some artsy-fartsy asshole. But it's nice, you know? It's almost like the ending of Berserk is whatever you make of it. And it leans into this sense of struggle that has always been a theme throughout the manga. And it's also always been a theme throughout everything surrounding it, almost. Not just the words on the page, not just the pictures to back them up. There is this... Everything besides the manga kind of feels like it has drawbacks. Because they do. So the 97 anime, it's good. It's definitely the best adaptation to date, period. But it's choppy. It's very choppy. Sometimes it feels like you're watching a slideshow with how few animation frames that they included in this television series. But it's still good. But then, cliffhanger ending, right at the biggest plot point of the whole series, that's its main drawback. And then the CGI movies come in. And the CGI movies kind of look like ass. Some of the shots look great when they actually physically hand draw them. They look fabulous. But then things get into motion and they switch to these CGI models that just don't look great. And it goes past what the 97 anime did, but only by a little bit. It only gives you this little glimpse into life after the golden age for Berserk. And the Eclipse, this is unrelated. I think the Eclipse is, in the CGI films, is one of the best showings of the Eclipse in any form of media, because by that point they were hand drawing over the CGI models in it, and it came out looking great. I think it's really well done, and I do have a soft spot for those movies. But they still have their drawbacks. The Dreamcast game isn't stellar. It's kind of press B over and over again 30 times to win. It's okay. The PS2 game, well, it is a PS2 game at the end of the day, so there's a drawback. The other thing is it wasn't released in America. I have the Japanese copy, but I had to mod it to get it to run on my PS2 with English patches. So there's that drawback. The 2016 anime looks worse than the PS2 game. In 2016, you're releasing the CGI-only animation. No hand drawing at this point. 100% CGI. And it looks like dog water. It looks like complete and total shit. But that's Berserk. And then the Muso, which is called Berserk and the Band of the Hawk, which would work if the title character's name was Berserk. But it's not. Who the hell's Berserk? It's such a weird play on words that it just hits the ear at the wrong time. And then the other thing you've got to consider is it's a Muso. It's just copy and pasted levels 30 times until you win the game, with these like dumb cutscenes that are just, oh, here's a character saying something, here's another character saying something, and that's it. That's the most effort that they put into it. And I liked it because I like Berserk, but everything that comes out around Berserk, everything has this level of suffering to it in a first worldy kind of way. So obviously all of the adaptations have some sort of caveat to them. There is none of them that live up to the name of the manga. And then the manga itself, it would release just months or even years apart. It's like, oh, we got a new chapter of Berserk this month. I'm not going to expect one until the end of the year, and it's February. You know, that's the kind of suffering that comes with it. And I feel like, I almost feel like that was done on purpose. I almost feel like Miura wanted people to just relate to Guts in this way, that you can't have what you want when you want it. But I want to talk about the manga now itself. So, The manga is racy. It has bits that it has things in it that I have trouble. The manga is weird. End of the day, there are parts in it that I just oh, that make me cringe, and not in like a this is embarrassing that you put this on the page way. I guess kind of in a certain way. It's just there's just so much violence, so much gore. You've been running with these group of characters for 13 volumes, and then suddenly they're all gone in one chapter. And that's the kind of story that Berserk tells. Nothing is guaranteed. You have to fight for what you want in this world, and I like that it portrays that. I like that it tells that story, because it feels like in a lot of shonen, in a lot of stories, in a lot of literature that everything folds up nicely. And I'm not saying there aren't times and places for that. I don't want every story to be like reality. I don't want every story to be, you're going to have your heart ripped out and you're going to thank me for it. Because not every story does work that way. Sometimes we need a break from this madness, from this just bleak existence that we live in. But I don't think that Berserk does that pointlessly. You know, a lot of series, a lot of not even just in the world of anime and manga, in comic books, in video games, in TV shows. You know, there are some things that are just so grimdark and so depressing for no reason, purely for the sake of being depressing. I don't think anything in Berserk is done without some point. Everything dark that happens in Berserk is for the sake of character development, and there's so much character development in everything that happens in Berserk. It's wild. Now that Miura is past, I have trouble recommending getting into the series, because you're going to come to a close. You're eventually going to reach the final chapter, and that's it. And there's no closure to it. There's no epic final boss finale event. None of that. You will get none. So that's my issue with recommending it. But if you were going to read it, I don't recommend starting at the beginning. I don't recommend starting with any of the anime adaptations. I don't recommend playing any of the video games. All of those you kind of need to already be a fan. It just can't work if it's your first introduction into Berserk. No, so I don't recommend you start with any of those. What I recommend you start with is the Lost Children arc, which is compiled in volumes 14 through 16. That's what I think you should start with. I recommend you start with the Lost Children arc because it's almost outside of Berserk canon. It's not whatsoever. But it takes place right after the Golden Age, which is like this brick of happiness that is very temporary. Starts right after that. It is almost completely self-contained in the story that it tells. It doesn't introduce you to any new characters. It just kind of... It's like if you started in the middle of a season, but that TV show is like Scooby-Doo, you know? You can infer what the character purposes are, what everybody's goals are in mind, and it doesn't really spoil anything else. And even then, it's only 2 mainstream characters in that arc, in that chapter. Everybody else is brand new, and it's this very self-contained story that I think on both ends it shows you both the best and the worst that Miura will offer you in terms of storytelling. Best in terms of narrative quality, best in terms of pure artistry that he offers just on the page itself. and worst in terms of gore, in violence, in things that will make you cringe. It is still my favorite arc for that reason. And if you can make it through Lost Children, I think you can make it through the rest of Berserk. This is sad. This is a really sad moment for me. It's almost like saying goodbye to a friend. It's almost like saying. It's almost like I'm at a funeral for this idea, this icon that I've held in my mind for so many years. It's like I'm saying goodbye to them. It's like I'm never going to see them again because I'm not. And I have the story behind me, you know. Everything that I've ever loved about Berserk is contained within the volumes behind my back. But they were always pushing towards this end goal that I will never see realized now. And it sucks. And I feel weird for mourning a story more than I'm mourning a man. But it feels also like they're one and the same. Again, I never knew Miura, and I never will now. But in taking such a deep dive into Berserk, in having this narrative just means so much to me. I feel like we all knew him at least a little bit. We knew the truest form of himself that he put pen to paper on, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And it's sad, because I'm never going to see that idea again. I'm never going to read a new chapter of Berserk again. I'm never going to experience how it ends. And that stings. It really does. And I don't want to be overly dramatic, but I am. In this instance, I feel it. I feel the loss, and I don't like it. Berserk meant a lot to me. It really did. It was something that I shared with my friends, that we would talk about when a new chapter came out. We would theorize what's going to happen next. I showed it off to so many of my friends. So many of my friends. Even the shitty anime adaptations, I was like, if you're not going to experience any other form of Berserk, you need to experience this form of Berserk. And 9 times out of 10, they liked it. And that was nice. It was nice to share something good with the people that I loved. And I can still do that, but it's different now. Because it's done. Because aside from like a single volume that's probably going to come out in another year, that's it. I'm very saddened by this loss. I wish Kentaro Miura's family well. I hope that they're doing okay with this loss. And I'm very sad that he went early. I'll be back.